views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open BXRx, BronxNet special coverage providing you the latest information that matters to you during COVID-19, the coronavirus, and now through social justice actions and civil unrest taking place nationwide and here in the Bronx. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, and today is Tuesday, September 15th. Coming up, we'll discuss federal, state, and local elections and learn all you need to know about voting laws, absentee and mail-in voting, and online registration with NYC Votes. Then, we'll learn how Dominicanos USA has provided citizenship classes and resources for immigrants even through the pandemic. After that, learn the value of career and technical training for Bronx youth with the founders of Bronx Design and Construction Academy. And the author of See Us, a book following 6 blind and visually impaired youth, will join us to discuss his book and the Career Discovery Project. So please stick around. Open BXRx starts now. Welcome to Open BXRx on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, inviting you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. As we saw in primary elections back in June, Election Day is looking a little bit different in 2020 due to COVID-19. Though voters will still be able to go to the polls here in New York, a record number of people are expected to vote from home by mail-in in November. Here to help us learn more about absentee ballots, mail-in voting, online registration, and keep track of important deadlines is Sabrina Castillo, Director of Partnership and Outreach at the NYC Campaign Finance Board. Sabrina, thank you so much for joining us today.
How are you? Thank you so much for having me and allowing us to share this really important information in a really critical time right now as we are right there almost at the election.
Yes, we are. We are fastly approaching, and this information is super important, so thank you. Just for people who are not familiar, can you tell us about NYC Votes and your mission?
Yeah, so NYC Votes is a voter empowerment initiative of the New York City Campaign Finance Board. We provide voters with tools and knowledge that they need to be able to build their own political power, especially focus on voters in underrepresented communities at the polls. This means that we are hyper-focused on young voters and new citizens. We understand that voters who are consistently voting, come from a voting culture, are already receiving a lot of information. And so while our information is general information that is useful for everyone, we do have programming that focuses on young and new citizens across the city.
Right. Thank you so much for the background, Sabrina. And just to get right into it, how has COVID-19 affected voters this year?
Well, I think the pandemic has changed New Yorkers in many ways. I think it's changed the country in many ways, but the way that we vote has changed significantly. There are a lot of changes that were already happening. The first time that we were able to early vote was last year. And safety of voting is now of the utmost importance. And thankfully, there are several ways for New Yorkers to be able to vote. Absentee is one of them. Previously, that was not an option unless you were out of the city or there were other excuse absences that you can have. So now it is open to anyone that wants to vote via absentee. You can go to nycabsentee.com. And while you can request a mail-in ballot right now, it is important to note that the Board of Elections will be sending out ballots to voters at the end of this month. And the earlier you do that, the better it is, generally speaking, as you prepare. And the way that I have been talking about this with people and the way our team has been talking about with the community is to make a plan on how you intend to vote, because you can request your absentee ballot. You can also now drop it off at a poll site during working operation hours, but we also have early voting. And that is another option where you can practice social distancing and be able to vote early. And the second piece of this is how to prepare and make sure that you're eligible, and you have until October 9th to register to vote. Make sure that you're eligible to participate in this year's election. So overall, I think safety is the biggest question that was brought into the voting conversation, where previously that may have not been the case.
Right. Thank you for that, Sabrina. And are there any new voting laws that we should know of during this time?
Yeah, so there's some that are relatively new, and then there's some that I said that I think are just new to the experience of voting. Early voting being the first one. Last year was the first time that New York State was able to vote early, 10 days before the election day. So this year, we are able to vote early, and also the ability to be able to request an absentee ballot is also new. So you can, again, request it at nycabsentee.com. And there's also a tracking mechanism now where voters can now check their absentee ballot application. And I think that this really hits home for those who have concerns about the reliability of voting by mail. And this is going to be just another way to be able to be transparent through this process. And there are changes happening literally by the minute. Back in March, it felt like it was happening by the minute. I think we've gotten the hang of it. But on our website at nyccfb.info/coronavirus, we update any new laws that come into place that might not really be received in the public as quickly as we wanted to. So we always encourage people to really stay up to date. And our Twitter and Instagram is also updating any new procedures, laws, or anything that's going to make it more accessible for New Yorkers to vote.
Right. And Sabrina, on mail-in voting, should we feel confident about voting through mail, especially with what's going on with the USPS and everything?
Yeah, so there are some things that, we don't have control over when it comes to specifically USPS and all of that. But I will say this much. There are several states who have all voting by mail operations and have been voting by mail for a very long time. And I think that on the voting and election side, and the administrators and organizations like ourselves are working really hard to be able to make sure that this is a transparent and safe process. So if there is any doubt, you should request your absentee ballot as soon as possible. You can drop it off at a poll site. If you change your mind and you got your absentee, you can go in and vote early starting October 24th. So there are Saturdays, there's evening hours. So at any point, if you have any questions, I think that as a city, we've really responded well in just being able to create as many opportunities that are accessible.
And Sabrina, NYC Vote shared that since 2016, voter registration has dropped 49% in New York City. Here in the Bronx, voter registration has dropped 59% from 2016. What is the reason for this, and how can we change this in our borough?
Yeah, so I think online voter registration is something that we were not able to have as accessible as we would want it to have. And New York City, as you know, the way that we move through the city is through connection and communities, and to be able to participate in many of the events that happen throughout the city. So I think that that's been the biggest impact, not being able to organize out in the field and do the type of organization around field outreach that we've done, events, voter registration events at libraries and at schools. We used to have student voter registration day where we went into every single high school and registered students. So there is just a lot of ways that we have changed, and it's really important for us to know that for this presidential election, the type of increase we would normally see when first-time voters are very excited about voting, we haven't been seeing that because of the accessibility that the pandemic has caused. And the pandemic did cause us to close down those type of operations when it comes to field organizing in the way that we would want to. Particularly in the Bronx, we do know we have higher rates of foreign-born naturalized citizens, and what we're really trying to do is make sure that we're creating innovative ways to be able to communicate and work with community-based organizations to look deeper into that, so that we can understand what is the best way to connect with those communities, what is the best way to provide that. And we have on the youth side been able to implement an ambassador program where we have students from the Bronx that are talking to their peers. We're launching a peer-to-peer campaign where they can text their peers, they can invite them in to register to vote and become part of the process. A lot of that has probably been one of our biggest challenges, is just not having them, boots on the ground, like they say.
Right. And Sabrina, of course, we have the important presidential election to worry about this upcoming season, but we also have state and local elections. How can people get information and resources through NYC Votes about their districts and what elections are going on there?
Yeah, so the presidential election, I think, is the biggest headline. And I think as New Yorkers, that's what people tend to focus on. It's what the news is focusing on. But there is local elections. And also, one of the reasons why we really focus on first-time voters being able to participate in the presidential elections, because you're also more likely to come back during local elections. And next year, we'll have a municipal election. We'll have a new mayor, controller, public advocate, and there's going to be over 500 people running for office. So we understand that if people don't participate in the presidential election, they're less likely to come back. And there is a big drop-off already, even with those who do vote in the presidential election. So when you're voting this year for the presidential election, being focused on those state races are really important, because it gets you into that habit and changing the way that you look at the ballot. And we produce a voter guide. So you can go to voting.nyc and you can see all of the races that are there. We produce the official voter guide for the city of New York for municipal elections, and we include all of the seats that are available on the ballot there.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, for your time today. Folks can also check you out on Instagram, right? Social media is very engaging for voting engagement, super important in the digital sphere that we're in now.
Yes, I would say that our Twitter and our Instagram at NYC Votes is very active in not only giving you the tools and the resources, but also giving you up-to-date information as any changes that are happening. We saw that happening a lot as we were heading into the primary. And while I think we are in a good place, we don't really know what to anticipate. So it's always good to keep track of that and check out voting.nyc for any information that you might need. October 9th is the voter registration deadline, so make sure that you're registered by then, and you can start early voting October 24th. And the most important information that you want to remember is October 27th is the last day to request your voting by absentee. And so you want to make sure you get that in as early as possible, because the earlier you get it, the more time you have to be able to fill it out and be able to drop it off at the poll site or at the post office, whatever you feel most comfortable with.
Thank you again, Sabrina, for your time today and for all this wealth of information for our viewers.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Again, folks, just to recap those important dates that Sabrina just gave, the deadline for voter registration is October 9th. Early voting begins October 24th to November 1st. And the deadline to apply for an absentee ballot is October 27th online and November 2nd in person. Those absentee ballots must be postmarked or dropped off in person by Election Day, November 3rd. Please visit nycvotes.org and follow them on social media at nycvotes for more information. We'll be right back.
New York City Controller Scott Stringer in the Bronx touring Riverdale small business community has officially thrown his hat into the ring in the race for mayor of the city of New York to replace term-limited Mayor de Blasio.
I want to be mayor to govern the hell out of this city. I want to deliver on affordable housing. I want to deliver on social justice. I want to make sure we have an education system for all the children of New York City. And to kick off the campaign where I grew up in Inwood and then come to Riverdale where my parents lived for so long, and then to walk the streets with my wife and the kids, it's been a great day.
It was also a great day for those who had the opportunity to meet him up close, like 18-year-old Benjamin Nocht, who shared that he just registered to vote.
They had me give my proof of residence and proof of identity, and then I just clicked, Democratic Party, and signed up to vote, and did an affidavit that everything's the truth.
I'm thrilled. First of all, the first stop on his mayoral tour is Riverdale, and to me that is so special and so exciting, because in 2018 when I ran for this seat, this is where we campaigned up and down these streets.
But now in a COVID-19 era, even with the city's popular open restaurants program providing patrons an outdoor experience while helping to keep infection rates low, Biaggi says more needs to be done by the city to address a safe and healthy plan for indoor dining, something she says Stringer would be willing to do.
This is the greatest city in the world. New York City is the greatest city in the world, and it deserves the best leadership that it could possibly have. Best leadership is defined by me as someone who is a transformational leader, who has an emotional intelligence, who thinks about everybody, right? Those who are suffering the most, who cares about diversity, who cares about police brutality, and will actually hold accountable those who abuse their powers, who has integrity. And on and on and on.
Along with restaurants, salons have also suffered, but Marianne Popovic, owner of Echo on Johnson Avenue, has the latest equipment and products to keep customers safe.
We've gone as far as putting in the UV lighting in our AC system. We've done the HEPA filters. As you could see, we boxed ourselves with all the plexiglass.
They ended their tour in front of Moss Cafe, another business on the comeback.
So this is all part of a 4-borough tour. Controller Springer is meeting one-on-one with the residents to find out their priorities and share with them his own. Here in Riverdale, Arlene Makoko for BronxNet.
Welcome back. Dominicanos USA is a nonprofit organization empowering the Dominican community through civic engagement, economic opportunity, and social integration. Through the pandemic, they've provided free citizenship classes, census information, resources, and more. Joining us now to discuss is Cuesta, Executive Director of Dominicanos USA, and Vesly Beato. She does digital social media for Dominicanos USA. Thank you both for joining us today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here, and seeing that you continue to promote very important information to our community based on this pandemic that we are going through. But, we at Dominicanos USA have made it our efforts to really, provide as much information as possible and help our community.
And Eddie, for those who are not familiar with Dominicanos USA, I gave a short intro, but can you tell us more about your mission?
Sure, thank you. Well, Dominicanos USA started in 2013 at Ostos Community College in the South Bronx. We have been, helping our community to empower them through civic, social, and economic integration. By that, I mean that we have been out in the community informing them about the importance of registering to vote. As we approach many of our community residents, we realized that there was a huge need to become U.S. citizens. New York has over 900,000 legal permanent residents. And we found out that it was so important as we approached those, who wanted to register to vote. And since then, we have been, registered more than 125,000 people in our community. Throughout other states that we do some work, a total of 175,000. We mobilize our community during the voting, in terms of making sure that they could get out to the polls, early voting, and I could talk to you a little bit about that. But we have found that during the pandemic, it has been so instrumental, our work, to help our community to become U.S. citizens. We have developed a platform, citizenship. We work as a partnership with Citizenship Work, which is a platform that helps our community apply, put in all of the information on this tool. And then what we do is we set up, appointments for those people that qualify to become U.S. citizens, and we help them to get their citizenship application completed, legal review, and that's part of our work. As well as we have also been doing some for last year. We're very helpful to our community, especially foreign-born, to help them through economic integration, finding jobs through a partnership with Workforce One and the city. So that was very helpful. And now we are, busy making sure that our community gets counted. Those areas that are, have not responded to the census, we're very aggressively making sure that our community does not get left out, and we are able to get the resources available in the future. And we know how important it is, the census.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Eddie. And as we know, COVID-19 has changed so much, and we've all transitioned more to this digital sphere. As we have this interview here through the computer, through Zoom, we're all kind of consuming information and receiving information online and social media. So we're glad to have Vesly here. Vesly, can you tell us about your work with Dominicanos USA and the work that you do to share this information online?
Hi, thank you so much. COVID-19 has definitely been a huge change. Like you said, we're here doing an interview through Zoom, which is amazing. Thank you so much for this. We really pride ourselves on being a great resource to our community. We've been sending information out remotely and sending resources and providing information on like food pantries in the Bronx and other areas, and just giving information that sometimes our communities don't know where to look. And we pride ourselves in being some place that they can look and find these answers to very important questions that they have.
And of course, it's bilingual, so Spanish and English information available on Dominicanos resources. So that's super important. That language barrier is also being confronted on Dominicanos USA and also helped for the community. Eddie, can you tell us more about your free citizenship classes? Who qualifies for these citizenship classes and how can people register?
Sure. Well, we have helped, several thousand people to a path to citizenship. And it's basically very simple. A lot of people don't realize, that how simple it is to really apply for the U.S. citizenship. Although it's 22, over 20 pages, the N400 application. And what we do is we make sure, to our promotion and the word of mouth, that has been, the biggest way of really getting the information out. Those people that really has been naturalized and that's other relatives, hey, listen, it's very, it's very simple. So what we do is very, we promote, we make sure, the requirements, you have to be at least 18 years old, have been a lawful permanent resident for 5 years, or married to a U.S. citizen for over 3 years, have been physically present, in the state for at least, half of the time. A lot of times, our community, they travel back and forth a great deal, and be able to read and write and speak basic English. And be a person of good moral character. So since the pandemic hit, we started, we went remotely in mid-March. And what we have done is we have been promoting the citizenship virtual citizenship drive. I could tell you that last week we registered 53 people. We were able to process 33 applications. And it's very simple. What we do is we make sure we put it similar to what you have here, a welcome room. In that welcome room, we even ask them if they have, fill out their census form. And then they go into, the other rooms that helps them, in terms of if they forgot to include something in their application. And finally, they go in for legal review. If they need assistance, a benefit letter, we have a relationship with the Human Resources Administration where they are able to get their benefit letter. So once they have everything, it's all, fine, and they get the approval from the legal review, it goes to checkout. And the only thing they have to do is just, mail in their application. We also help them with their fee waiver if they qualify, which is so important. And one of the things we have seen a surge in people applying, because as of October 2nd, the fees will be increased from $725 to $1,170. That's about 83%, increase. We are also programming to have another workshop, which will be on Thursday, October 24th. So you could imagine, we've been doing this, simultaneously since the COVID, and it's been increasing. And I think one of the few organizations that really supporting our community in applying for U.S. citizenship, which is so important. And, citizenship, most of the people, they tell us they want to apply because they have the U.S. passport. They could vote, which is very important. And, that's part of our work. So maybe Vesly want to add something to it, but, some of the things that we've seen 18 years old, applying, you have people that are 80 years old applying. So you shouldn't be scared. It's a very simple process. Right now, we will be expecting USCIS, Immigration Naturalization Services, to open up. They've been doing very gradually. And then what we do as well is those who might have a need to get educated in civics, in the civic classes, we have a partnership with the New York Historical Society. It's been very interesting. We've been doing this. We used to do it in our office, in classroom, and then we converted through the online version. And we have, in the classes more than, 18, 25 people. So we are, helping them in terms of, how they could, proceed to a path to citizenship. So, it's a combination of really being out there for our community.
Thank you for sharing that. Vesly, if you can chime in just about the youth getting involved in this process as well and applying for these citizenship resources at Dominicanos USA.
One of the biggest things that I've seen that I've really been amazed at is the diversity there is in age. There's a huge range of like super young people from my age that are like 18, 20, and then people who are older who also want to get their citizenship. And I really like that in our events. Like Eddie said, we have different rooms that help people, and I'm there to translate. So in DUSA, we wear multiple caps, and I'm there to translate for them, not just to be a digital media specialist. And I really like the way we just handle the whole situation and how we do our events. For example, the first one we did, we only helped around 20 people, and we helped around 20 to get their citizenship. And the next one we did, we more than doubled that by helping 50 people, and by doing such a range in ages. I also tried to help motivate the younger people to get into the census and registering to vote and everything through our social media pages and doing things that will catch their eyes. So definitely, we don't focus on one specific age. We definitely want to focus on all ages in our community.
Right. And how are we seeing the census operating in our communities, in the Dominican community in particular? Is there still a need for ourselves to count? Please talk about the importance to making the Dominicans count in our community, as well as other people in the immigrant community of the Bronx count.
Definitely. Hispanics are consistently undercounted in the census, and Dominicans in particular. What we see a lot, and what I see on our social media pages, is that they're scared about what the questions will ask. Sometimes they don't know, they're worried about the citizenship question, or if they're asked if there's citizenship, they have it. So it's important for us to address those questions for them and let them know, hey, it's quick, it's easy, it doesn't ask about that. And it's just important that we get counted, because that leads to fixing issues that matter to us, like public schools, like healthcare, roads, and housing. Things that matter to us, the census helps with that. So it's addressing those problems, addressing those issues with the census are really important.
Absolutely. Eddie,
Yes. I'd like to add to that. Basically, the Dominican community I participated, in 2010, they were one of the groups that really, stood out, in terms of responding to the census. But due to the COVID, and as Vesly mentioned, the immigration question, and other, issues that have, come up, we have been very aggressively promoting, specifically in those areas that are low, hard to count areas. So the Bronx is about 56%, in certain communities, even some neighborhoods are a little bit below that. So we have a very robust database, where we are, doing an aggressive texting and phone banking, which will begin specifically next week, very aggressive phone banking. We're talking about trying to reach maybe 50, 60,000, in certain community boards. But, the situation that we are faced with is that the census has been reduced in terms of the extension of time. It was supposed to end at the end of October. So, the census is supposed to end on September 30th. There is some, hopefully there is a legal issue. They have been sued to see if they could extend it again. So, it's very, very sad, because New York, has been, the response within the 5 boroughs, New York has been around 61, 62%. So we are very aggressive, making sure those pockets of those communities. The areas that I think will be very important to highlight here is the area of Mount Hope, Tremont, Wakefield, Bronxwood, East 250th Street to 229th Street, Van Ness, the area of the Cross Bronx, So those are the areas that we really want to make sure that our community respond to it. Right now, there is enumerators around visiting those households that did not respond to the census. So, our message is to make sure that they ask those census workers, those enumerators, to identify themselves with the appropriate identification, as well as to they have a census bag and, provide the information. But they still can do it, very easily. They could respond through either calling a toll-free number that will help them either in Spanish or in English. The Spanish number is 1-844-468-2020. And then Vesly could probably say the other one that we have that we could, include. They could go also to my2020census.gov. They will, the census questionnaire does not ask for Social Security, for driver's license, credit card, citizenship status, or immigration status. So we are really telling our community how important it is, because if we are not properly counted, we're going to lose federal funding that will lead to, right now we're going through a pandemic that could, really help our community to program, for more hospitals, more social programs, education. And besides that, we could lose 2 congressional districts, based on, the loss of population. So, that's our work, and we really, want to make sure our community gets counted, especially children, especially children, that's so important. Well. And take into consideration, there are people that might rent a room to help them with the support of their rent. You got to count those people that are living in your household, even though they pay, for the room that they share. So that's something I want to make sure, we can get out the message.
Eddie, thank you, Vesly, for joining us today and speaking more about Dominicanos USA. Before we go, can you just give us the resources for people to stay connected and contact you with any questions that they may have?
Of course. They can always reach us at our website, dominicanosusa.org, or they can always call us, 718-665-0400. We always stay active on our social media pages, so they can always make sure they like, comment, DM. I will answer back to all of them. We always look at everything. We also send out monthly newsletters that shows what we're doing, different resources, and different great information for our community. They should subscribe to that and make sure they sign up for it. So they could just keep in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We even have a YouTube channel. And we're always posting about what we're doing, so they can always keep up to date with us and the things they should know about COVID and everything else.
Do a shout out for volunteers.
Yes, we're looking for volunteers. If anybody wants to volunteer, we're also looking for interns, social media interns, data interns, civic engagement interns. So if anybody's looking for any type of opportunities, they can just reach us at our website or at our phone number.
Thank you both again for your time today, and thank you for your service in our community.
Thank you so much.
You can stay connected with Dominicanos USA at Yo Soy DUSA on Instagram and all social media, and visit their website at dominicanosusa.org. We'll be right back.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people. Avoid crowds. Stay home if you can. Wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
Welcome back. Career and Technical Education, or CTE, prepares youth and adults for a wide range of high-wage, high-skill, high-demand careers. Here in the South Bronx, the Bronx Design and Construction Academy gives students in the poorest congressional district an opportunity to learn and thrive in different trades. Joining us now to discuss our founding partners of Bronx Design and Construction Academy, Jeffrey Smalls and Dwayne C. Sampson. Welcome. Thank you both for joining us today, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
To start, just for people who are not familiar, can you tell us about Bronx Design and Construction Academy, your partnership at the school, and the vocational programs available there?
Sure. My partnership at the school is co-founder. Myself and Dwayne founded the school. And, over the past 10 years, we've been working closely with the building and to make sure that the building trades remain in that building. Bronx Design is the last school in New York City that teaches carpentry, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and architectural design under one roof. So it's a fantastic program that's there, that exists in the South Bronx, and we definitely want to get the word out to parents and prospective students to make sure that they know what's available at that location.
And Mr. Sampson, what kind of jobs do youth get after graduation from Bronx Design and Construction Academy?
Well, Sonyi, I'm glad you asked that question. The jobs are tremendous coming out of that school, Bronx Design and Construction Academy, with a trade. Typically, we develop internships their juniors and senior years in high schools with the MTA, Con Edison, unions like Local 3. And what happens is these employers want to hire the youngsters that have the skill sets coming right out. Many of them go in as apprentice, and they do their journeyman levels, and they have good salaries within 3 to 5 years. Tremendous opportunity. Students get 600 hours of trade instruction. So that's a big benefit to the employer, knowing that they're bringing in employees that know a little bit about what they're doing.
Right. Thank you so much. Mr. Smalls, recently BXDCA held a protest rally in order to keep plumbing, an essential program, active at the school. Can you share why it's important to continue to fight for these programs and just about your goal to motivate and believe in the skills of the youth here in the Bronx?
Sure. Well, I'm a third-generation contractor. My grandfather was a licensed plumber in Brooklyn. My father followed his footsteps and got licensed and started his own company in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And when I went to apply for high school, I wanted to be a plumber as well. And the closest school that taught plumbing in the 5 boroughs was at Alfred E. Smith's campus way back when. So I'm really passionate about plumbing. I think it's an excellent trade. For those who don't know, the prevailing wage, what the New York City has regulates to make sure that every journey person on the site makes for plumbers is actually $70.35 an hour. Wow. So I think a lot of what we see in the industry is we see people coming from the suburbs and coming into the inner city, and we just wanted to make sure that the students that go to that school have an opportunity to learn that craft and use the skills that they learn at BX Design Construction Academy to make sure that they can make a very good living for themselves and their family. And I've seen that a lot of students have came back and told us how they're helping out with their households, and they're actually helping their parents out with some of the expenses of running a household. And it really is changing their trajectory as a family. When having these skills and being able to earn money as soon as you graduate high school is something that I'm passionate about, and that's what I did. And I want to make sure other students that go to the school have the same opportunity.
Absolutely. And when we talk about the unemployment rates here in the Bronx in particular, how high those rates are due to COVID-19, a lot of these students coming straight out of high school have that opportunity to help their parents, reach the next level and elevate their income at a young age. Full disclosure, I went to Alfred E. Smith High School. I graduated in 2010. I am a proud alumni of Alfred E. Smith. I studied architectural drafting there, and I learned a lot from teachers like Mr. Lopez, Mr. Castillo, a lot of amazing, amazing teachers there. And of course, obviously, I didn't continue to pursue architectural drafting, but I learned so much. And I know that both you, Mr. Smalls, and Mr. Sampson also offer students the opportunity to work with you in your businesses as well. Can you tell me more about each of your backgrounds?
Sure. Well, I can start with Smalls Electrical is the name of my company. Since I didn't learn plumbing in high school, I learned electrical in William E. Grady's. So I opened up my electrical contracting company. And over the past really 20 years, I've been going back to that campus and hiring graduates from that program because they have the theory behind it and they have the practical experience as well. So combining those two together really makes them dynamic entry-level people. So I bring them in and hire them as CAD operators or project managers, or bring them in and train them estimating. And if they want to go into the field, they have to go through the union, but we hire from the school directly into the office. And that's something that I've been doing for the last 20 years as a company.
I'd like to add that Dwayne Sampson Transportation Diversity Council is my organization that supports the school. TDC, as we're known as, provides jobs through our members and associations. We have a wealth of organizations, some of the top in construction, transportation, and certainly Jeff is one of those companies as well. So we believe that with that network, our student graduates can go into just about any field in the transportation or construction industry. They just have to be motivated. We've sent 2 alumni resumes out to a major bus manufacturing plant that's building electrical buses. That's one opportunity. We place youngsters in Virginia from the school to work on track safety and track redevelopment projects, in countless other jobs that the MTA, we had reestablished the student internship program at the MTA, where these youngsters are elevator, escalator repair, facilities, maintenance personnel. These are good jobs with a lot of opportunities to support their families.
Right. Thank you both for sharing more about that. Now, with the school year fastly approaching, a lot of things are going to change due to COVID-19. How will the programs continue to operate? There's a lot of hands-on program and education going on at BXDCA. Is anything changing at the school?
They're still going through the planning process to see exactly how it's going to look on day one. But I can say the shops right now, they're set up where there's very big rooms. So the students can, socially distance without a problem too much as far as dealing with the shops. They have separate booths and, they can definitely stay 6 feet apart. So I think keeping that going is going to be important, and it engages the students as well. Most students come to the school because they like the trades, and some of them actually love the trades. So just having an opportunity to have those 3 hours a day to go into the shop and work with their hands and learn something new is something that really keeps the students engaged. And a lot of them said that they miss that as well. So we want to make sure that they won't miss it coming, later on this month, and that we'll have that opportunity. So, because really, once you learn to work with your hands, that's something that's transferable anywhere in the world. So that's the beauty about a trade. A trade, construction as an industry, it doesn't matter who you know or what your resume says about you. It's, can you get the job done? Do you have the skill? And these students are being taught the theory end and the practical. And they're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of the average graduate out of high school. So we encourage people who are interested in school to send their young men and young ladies to the school. And ideally, they would be on grade level as well, because we not only require the high school grade level, we also add the 3 hours a day, three periods a day of shop. So it's important that they come into the school on grade level, because that allow them to graduate on time and really go straight into the trades and start their careers.
Right. I definitely wanted to highlight that aside from learning a trade, students also have academics to fulfill. So there's like this extra hours that they have to put into the trades as well. No, there's a common misconception that trade schools are easier than regular academic schools, but that's not the case. These students have to put in work in math, English, all of these other studies, as well as fulfilling that trade as well.
Yes, they must meet the requirements of a Regents diploma, and to get a CTE, Korean Technical Education endorsed diploma from the state, they must meet the requirements for the approved program. Very demanding. But that's not to say that demanding is an obstacle for our youngsters. They're very motivated. They're passionate about their trade. At Bronx Design, we have a large group of students with the, I would say, they disabled in education, and they need support and support services. Over the years, we have done well with that particular student population because of the trade. And so we've enhanced youngsters' lives even further.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson, Mr. Smalls. Before we go, how can parents, students, anyone who's interested in the school find out more about the school?
Oh, well, I would say that it's the normal high school process. So, they can go online and look up Bronx Design and Construction Academy. We would like for them to come out to the open house as well. We're going to have more people at the school fairs, the high school fairs and stuff like that. But when there is an opportunity to come visit the school, we strongly encourage that. They'll be able to see the full-scale house that's being done, being built by the current students. And that's something that's really going to make sure that they understand what the potential is for the graduate once they leave Bronx Design and Construction Academy. So definitely.
I'll be there. Please send me the invitation to the building of the house in the school as well. I'll be there. Thank you again for advocating for career and technical education in our borough.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in, folks. We'll be right back.
The Bronx is slowly getting back to business, and one small sign of normalcy is the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center's Farmers Market. The Farmers Market hosts a variety of different vendors along with farmers from all over the Bronx. Founder and director Ray Poltinez says it's no secret that the Bronx ranks the lowest in health across the 5 boroughs, but he believes the market and fresh food is a way to combat that.
We're in a place where really there is not a lot of choices for fresh food. So, people have kind of caught on. And so the market, we're drawing at least 200 people a Saturday.
Some of the produce from the outdoor market comes straight from the center's own garden. However, they don't sell it. Instead, they ask for small donations and use the money to buy unused produce from farmers at the market to distribute to community fridges.
We're also part of a network that's, really trying to make healthy food available to everybody in the Bronx, not just those who can afford it.
Jeremy Schultz, one of the farmers at the market, says he's just excited to take part.
Well, we wanted to support Ray, his family, and he's doing he had this great idea, and we wanted to be part of it and just try to do what we could to be a helper in this. I'm just super excited to be part of it.
And if you're interested in grabbing some corn or a beet, at this outdoor farmers market, it's open every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
The market is located at the intersection of Golden and Cedric Avenue in the Bronx.
And if you're interested in getting your business involved, you can always email at the email provided below. Reporting for BronxNet, Darissa White.
Welcome back. The Career Discovery Project is a unique internship program allowing visually impaired students to gain career experience. The director of this program has just written a book called See Us, following the work journeys of 6 blind and visually impaired young adults. Let's check out this trailer.
70% of visually impaired young adults are unemployed. The 6 refuse to be another statistic.
I'm Alani. See me.
I am Carla. See me.
I am Alex. See me.
I am Jaden. See me.
I am Caitlin. See me. See us.
Joining us now to discuss is Jonathan Marin, author of See Us and program director of the Career Discovery Project. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. First to start, for people who are not familiar, can you tell us about yourself and the Career Discovery Project and your mission with the CDP?
Sure. So I've been working with the blind and visually impaired for over 10 years. I took over the Career Discovery Project, or CDP, in 2014. And it's a year-round grant-funded program that connects blind and visually impaired high school and college students with internship opportunities throughout New York City and Westchester County.
That's wonderful. Thank you for the background. And how have things changed at the program due to COVID-19?
So under normal circumstances, most of my students will work on site. Some of them would work remotely, like from home or from school if they're dorming. But during the shutdown, which happened, between like February and June, when the whole city had a shutdown, that screwed up my entire spring semester. But on the bright side, it gave me enough time to prep for the summer semester, where I was able to develop entirely remote work experiences.
Right. And Jonathan, as we know, New York City cut 40,000 youth jobs due to the pandemic. How has lack of employment affected the blind and visually impaired students that you work with in particular?
So as you know, during the school year, I'm the only program that's providing work experiences. But during the summer, it's my agency and about 3 more that provide work experiences for blind and visually impaired high school and college students. But this summer, for their own particular reasons, those agencies weren't able to develop any programming. That left my programming as the only one running. And the reason we're the only one running, again, was because of our experience. Because of our experience creating remote work opportunities. So unfortunately, this summer, a lot of students were left out.
What are some of those remote work opportunities that the students get from your program?
So they could work at a variety of places, whether it's a tech institution or a cultural institution. I had 2 students working with the Museum of the Moving Image, conducting Zoom workshops, creating alt text and social media posts, things like that. I had a student at a small theater company called Blacklight Theater. She was also working on their social media. I had another student at a place called Sports Kitchen that's developing a new program called Fair Play for Kids, and they needed someone to consult them on how to make the program inclusive for students that are blind and visually impaired. And that student was also helping them create content for their website. And they were able to do all this work from home through their computer. They already have the technology. They know how to use it. We know how teenagers are. Some of them are already getting more advanced than we are. They're jumping ahead. So they had the technology to do it. I just had to coach them when it came to making sure they sign in on time and they provide their work on time. They submit everything when it needs to be submitted. So it was actually a very successful summer, and first for the program, where we had a total of 9 students all working remotely.
Wow, that's amazing. And, it gives them something to do because a lot of the students were out of school for so long and just longed for that connection and the career connection as well. So thank you for doing that for these students. I just wanted to speak about some of the stigmas associated with the blind and visually impaired. How do you help students overcome these obstacles that they face?
So the problem is you have too many people out there who think these students are incapable of doing things on their own. They always need help. My program gives them the opportunity to utilize their talents and skills. And as a direct result, it shreds those stigmas and negative stereotypes.
Right. No, that's amazing to hear, Jonathan. And now about your book, you highlight how those stigmas and obstacles are nothing to these students because at the end of the day, they're just like anybody else, right? So can you tell us about your book and what inspired you to write it? It's called for our viewers.
That's right. So it's called See Us. It's a photographic journey of 6 visually impaired students from New York City that are balancing their lives between work, home, and school. And I was inspired to do this book, probably years worth of inspiration, because I'm a witness to their life experiences. I'm watching a lot of these students grow right before my eyes, and I'm watching them mature and struggle and achieve, and I wanted to share that with the public. I wanted them to see what these students are capable of, and what they're going through and how they're handling it. And the particular group that I document in the book, and the group is known as the 6. They want people to see them as well. They want people to see what's going on. And that's how I got the idea for the title See Us.
That's beautiful. And what do you hope that people take away from the book most?
I hope that they see that these young adults are more capable than they think they are. And they're no different, really, than anybody else. They go through the same stress and pressures as your typical teenager, maybe even more so, because some of them are blind or visually impaired. But they're not letting that define who they are. They're trying to find their place in this world. They're breaking down all sorts of barriers, and they're not letting anyone or anything get in their way.
Wow, an inspiration for us all. Jonathan, you're also a mentor in this program, right? So a lot of the students rely on you and give you speak to you, you give them advice and all that. What have you been hearing through COVID-19 with working with some of these students?
Oh, I've been telling them really I let them know first that, and I actually done it a couple of times, this is probably the weirdest and most difficult time they have experienced so far in their young lives, and they have to keep their head up. They have to stay positive. I told them to focus on school, focus on work, and only worry about what you can control. Tune out all the outside noise. Whatever is not going to have a negative impact on you, don't even think about it. Just focus on yourself. This will be over soon. And thankfully, we're getting to some sort of normalcy.
And Jonathan, contrary to popular belief, blind and visually impaired can use their cell phones, and they can see sometimes, right? There are specific programs and things that they can use on their phone in order to access it, and as well as voice assistants and all this. So they're very capable of using their cell phone in order to work just like us. Can you tell us more about that as well?
Sure. So So my students that work from home, they either use their laptops or computers, and they'll have accessible programs like Draws, which is a speaking program. That's mainly used by students that are that don't have any vision, that are totally blind. Students that are visually impaired have different levels of vision. So just because a student's visually impaired doesn't necessarily mean that that student needs any accessible programs on their computer. They just might do, a little tweak, like increasing the font size or zooming in on the screen, little things like that. Other students might need, other assistance. So they'll download the proper apps. I know iPhones are very accessible. They love iPhones because of the good accessible technology that has that makes their life easier and allows them to work from anywhere pretty much, and it's funny though. I had to tell them, guys, when you start this job, please don't do any work through your phone. Use your laptops. Maybe you can use your tablet or computer, but don't do it through the phone. It can make things a little bit tricky. And I explained to them, they're going to expect you to use certain word programs, things like that you're not going to have on your phone. So, but some of them were able to, depending on what the job responsibility was, some of them were able to do certain things from their phone, and it worked out fine. They taught me a couple of things, so I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud how everything turned out this summer.
It's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for sharing, Jonathan. Before we go, how can people find out more about the Career Discovery Project and find your book, See Us, and stay in touch with you?
So you can go to cityaccessny.org for more information on the Career Discovery Project and some of the other programs we have under our agency. You can follow me on Twitter at author_Marin, Marin, and on Instagram at the author John Marin.
And is the book out yet, Jonathan?
The book should be out. We're hoping sometime later on this fall. It'll be available through my website, which is currently under construction. We're doing rapid work on that, and Amazon, iBooks, and we're going to find a whole bunch of other platforms to make sure the book is available to as many people as possible.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for your work through the Career Discovery Program and as well the project, and as well as writing this book, See Us, for us all to see and experience the work of visually and blind youth and the capabilities that they have even through a pandemic. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Folks, again, you can visit cityaccessny.org/career-discovery-project and stay tuned for Jonathan's book, See Us, on his social media. That's all for our show today. Thank you for tuning in to BXRx. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, wishing you and your family safety and wellness now and always.